Hello and welcome to this second look exploring session looking at Love's Metamorphosis by John Lyly. A second look is where we just run at it at pace. We're not going to read stage directions. We're not going to be doing excessive amounts of zoomy kind of performance things, but some people have got props, some people are going to have fun. But by and large, we're going to be keeping our cameras on, all of us throughout, with a few exceptions, and just see how the flow of the text goes. So there may be some moments which don't fully make sense because we're not fully acting them out. There are some songs that we don't have for this text as well, so we're going to see. We're going to mark that the songs exist, but there's not going to be any big production numbers here. So that's the way it's going to be. But I say it's an exercise about pace and energy and the rhythm of the text without us stopping and starting discussing it as we go. We will have a little chat about it at the end, and to run through the play at reasonable levels of pace. We have these wonderful readers in the room. Wave and say hello to the people at home. All notes in the show description as to who is reading what, and we will have at least hopefully one additional reader popping in as we go. So, without further ado, we're going to start. I think it's our fifth? I think it's our fifth Lyly second look. We're just crossing over the halfway mark in Lyly, but this time we don't have a prologue. Sometimes we have two. We have two, but this time nothing at all. We're going to go bang into the action. So everyone, take a lovely deep breath as we go into Act 1 of Love's Metamorphosis.
I cannot see, Montanus, why it is feigned by the poets that love sat upon the chaos and created the world, since in the world there is so little love.
Ramus, thou canst not see that which cannot with reason be imagined. For if the divine virtues of love had dispersed themselves through the powers of the world so forcibly as to make them take by his influence the forms and qualities impressed within them, no doubt they could not choose but savour more of his divinity.
I do not think love hath any spark of divinity in him, since the end of his being is earthly, and the blood is begot by the frail fires of the eye, and quenched by the frailer shadows of thought. What reason have we then to soothe his humour with such zeal, and follow his fading delights with such passion?
We have bodies, Sylvestrus, and human bodies, which in their own natures, being much more wretched than beasts, do much more miserably than beasts pursue their own ruins. Since it will ask longer labour and study to subdue the powers of our blood to the rule of the soul than to satisfy them with the fruition of our loves, let us be constant in the world's errors and seek our own torments.
As good yield indeed submissively and satisfy part of our affections, as be stubborn without ability to resist, and enjoy none of them. I am in worst plight, since I love a nymph that mocks love.
And I, one that hates love.
I, one that thinks herself above love.
Well, let us not dispute whose mistress is most bad, since they be all cruel, nor which of our fortunes be most froward, since they all be desperate. I will hang my scutcheon on this tree in honour of Ceres, and write this verse on the tree in hope of my success. Penelopen ipsam perstis modo tempore rincis. Penelope will yield at last, continue, and conquer.
I this, fructus abest facies cum bona teste caret. Fair faces lose their favours if they admit no lovers.
But why studiest thou? Or what wilt thou write for thy lady to read?
That which necessity maketh me to endure, love, reverence, wisdom, wonder at, ribellem patiente habe.
Come, let us every one to our walks. It may be we shall meet them walking.
It is time to hang our garlands. This is our harvest holiday. We must both sing and dance in honor of Ceres. Of what colors or flowers is thine maid, Niobe?
Of Salamon's, which in the morning are white, red at noon, and in the evening purple. For in my affections shall there be no stateness, but in unstateness. But what is yours of, Nisa?
Of holly, because it is most holy, which lovely green neither the sun's beams nor the wind's blasts can alter or diminish. But Celia, what garland have you?
Mine all of cypress leaves, which are broadest and beautifulest, yet beareth the least fruit. For beauty maketh the brightest show, being the slightest substance. And I am content to wither before I be worn, and deprive myself of that which so many desire.
Come, let us make an end, lest Ceres come and find us slack in performing that which we owe. But soft, some have been here this morning before us.
The amorous foresters, or none, for in the woods they have eaten so much wake robin that they cannot sleep for love.
Alas, poor souls, how ill love sounds on their lips, who, telling a long tale of hunting, think they have bewrayed a sad passion of love.
Give them leave to love, since we have liberty to choose. For as great sport do I take in their coursing their tame hearts, as they do pains in hunting their wild hearts.
Niobe, your affection is but pinned to your tongue, which when you list you can unloose. But let us read what they have written. Penelopen ipsam perstes modo tempore vinces. That is for you, Nisa, whom nothing will move, yet hope makes him hover.
A fond hobby to hover over an eagle.
But foresters think all birds to be buntings. What's the next? Fructus ebest faci cum bona testi carrot? Celia, the forester gives you good counsel. Take your penny's worth while the market serves.
I hope it will be market day till my death's day.
Let me read too. Ravellam patienter habe. He toucheth you, Niobe, on the quick. Yet you see how patient he is in your constancy.
Inconstancy is a vice which I will not swap for all the virtues, though I throw one off with my whole hand. I can pull him again with my little finger. Let us encourage them and write something. If they censure favorably, we know them fools. If angrily, we will say they are forward.
I will begin. Cedit amorebis, res age tutus eris.
Indeed, better to tell stars than be idle, yet better idle than ill-employed. Mind this, sat mihi si facie sit bene nota mihi.
You care for nothing but a glass that is a flatterer.
Then all men are glasses.
Some glasses are true.
No men are, but this is mine. Victoria tecum stabit.
Thou givest hope.
He is worthy of it that is patient.
Let us sing, and so attend on Ceres. For this day, although into her heart never entered any motion of love, yet usually to the temple of Cupid she offereth 2 white doves, as entreating his favor, and 1 eagle, as commanding his power. Pracibusque minas regaliter adet.
What noise is this? What assembly? What idolatry? Is this the modesty of virgins turned to wantonness? The honour of Ceres accounted immortal? And Erythian, ruler of this forest, esteemed of no force? Impudent giglets that you are, to disturb my game, or dare do honour to any but Erythian. It's not your fair faces as smooth as jet, nor your smooth enticing eyes, that they drew iron like adamants, nor your filled speeches, were they as forcible as Thessalides, that shall make me in any way flexible.
Erysection, thy stern looks joined with thy stout speeches, thy words as unkept as thy locks, were able to affright men of bold courage, and to make us silly girls frantic, that are full of fear. But know thou, Erysichthon, that where thy hand so unstayed as thy tongue, and the one as ready to execute mischief as the other to threaten it, it should neither move our hearts to ask pity or remove our bodies from this place. We are the handmaids of divine Ceres. To fair Ceres is this holy tree dedicated, to Ceres by whose favor thyself livest, that art worthy to perish.
Are you addicted to Ceres that in spite of Erechtheion you will use these sacrifices? No, immodest girls, you shall see that I have neither regard of your sex, which men should tender, nor of your beauty, which foolish love would dote on, nor of your goddess, which none but peevish girls reverence. I will destroy this tree in despite of all, and that you may see my hand execute what my heart intendeth, and that no mean may appease my malice. My last word shall be the beginning of the first blow.
Out, alas, what hath he done?
Ourselves, I fear, must also minister matter to his fury.
Let him alone, but see, the tree poureth out blood, and I hear a voice.
What voice? If in the tree there be anybody, speak quickly, lest the next blow hit the tail out of thy mouth.
Oh, monster of men! Hate of the heavens, and to the earth a burthen, what hath chaste Fidelia committed? It is thy spite, Cupid, that, having no power to wound my unspotted mind, begurus means to mangle my tender body, by violence, to gash those sides that enclose a heart dedicate to virtue. Oh, is it that savage satyr that, feeding his sensual appetite upon lust, seeketh now to quench it with blood, that being without hope to attain my love, he may with cruelty end my life? Or doth Ceres, whose nymph I have been many years, in recompense of my inviolable faith, in recompense of my inviolable faith, reward me with unspeakable torments? Divine Phoebus, that pursued Daphne till she was turned into a bay tree, cease then to trouble her. Aye, the gods are pitiful. And Cinyras, that with fury followed his daughter Myra till she was changed into a myrtree, left then to prosecute her. Yea, parents are natural. Phoebus lamented the loss of his friend, Cinyras of his child, but both gods and men either forget or neglect the change of Fidelia. Nay, follow after her change to make her more miserable. So there is nothing more hateful than to be chaste, whose bodies are followed in the world with lust and prosecuted in the graves with tyranny, whose minds, the freer they are from vice, their bodies are in the more danger of mischiefs, so that they are not safe when they live because of men's love, nor being changed because of their hates, nor being dead because of their defaming. What is that chastity which so few women study to keep, and both gods and men seek to violate? Oh, if only a naked name, why are we so superstitious of hollow sound? If rare virtue, why are men so careless of such exceeding rareness? Go, ladies, tell Ceres that I am that Fidelia that so long knit garlands in her honour, and chased with a satyr by prayer to the gods became turned to a tree, whose body is now grown over with rough bark, and whose gold locks are covered with green leaves, yet whose mind nothing can alter, neither the fear of death nor the torments. If Ceres seek no revenge, then let virginity not be only the scorn of savage people, but the spoil. But alas! I feel my last blood to come, and therefore must end my last breath. Farewell, ladies, whose lives are subject to many mischiefs. For if you be fair, it is hard to be chaste, if chaste impossible to be safe. If you be young, you will quickly bend. If bend, you are suddenly broken. If you be foul, you shall seldom be flattered. If you not be flattered, you will ever be sorrowful. Beauty is a firm fickleness. Youth, a feeble staidness. Deformity, a continual sadness.
Thou monster, canst thou hear this without grief?
Yea, and double your griefs with my blows.
Oh, poor Fidelia, the express pattern of chastity, an example of misfortune.
Ah, cruel Erysichthon, that not only defaceth these holy trees, but murderest also this chaste nymph.
Nymph or goddess, it skilleth not, for is there none that Eryxion cares for, but Eryxion. Let Ceres, the lady of your harvest, revenge when she will, nay, when she dares, and tell her this, that I am Eryxion.
Thou art none of the gods.
No, a condemner of the gods.
And hopest thou to escape revenge, being but a man?
I care not for revenge, being a man and Eryxion.
Come, let us to Ceres, and complain of this unacquainted and incredible villain. If there be power in her deity, in her mind pity, or virtue in virginity, this monster cannot escape.
Doth Erysichthon offer force to my nymphs, and to my deity disgrace? Have I stuffed his barns with fruitful grain, and doth he stretch his hand against me with intolerable pride? So it is, Ceres, thine eyes may witness what thy nymphs have told. Here lieth the tree hacked in pieces, and blood scarce cold of the fairest virgin. This be thy cruelty, Cupid. I will no more hallow thy temple with sacred vows. If thy cankered nature, Erysichthon, thou shalt find as great misery as thou showest malice. I am resolved of thy punishment, and as speedy shall be my revenge as thy rigor barbarous. Tirtana, on yonder hill, where never grew grain nor leaf, where nothing is but barrenness and coldness, fear and paleness, lieth famine. Go to her, and say that Ceres commandeth her to gnaw on the bowels of Erysichthon, that his hunger may be as unquenchable as his fury.
I obey, but how should I know her from others?
Thou canst not miss her if thou remember but her name, and that canst thou not forget, for that coming near to the place thou shalt find gnawing in thy stomach. She lieth gaping and swalloweth not but air, her face pale and so lean that as easily thou mayest through the very skin behold the bone, as in a glass thy shadow. Her hair long, black, and shaggy, her eyes sunk so far into her head that she looketh out of the nape of her neck, her lips white and rough, her teeth hollow and red with rustiness, her skin so thin that thou mayst as lively make an anatomy of her body as if she were cut up with chirurgeons, her maw like a dry bladder, her heart swollen big with wind, and all her bowels like snakes working in her body. This monster, when thou shalt behold, tell her my mind, and return with speed.
I go, fearing more the sight of famine than the force.
Take thou these few ears of corn, but let not famine so much as smell to them. Let her go aloof from thee. Now shall Erysichthon see that Ceres is a great goddess, as full of power as himself of pride, and as pitiless as he presumptuous. Now think you, ladies, is not this revenge apt for so great an injury?
Yes, madam, to let men see that they that contend with the gods do but confound themselves.
Then let us to the temple of Cupid and offer sacrifice. They that think it strange for chastity to humble itself to Cupid know neither the power of love nor the nature of virginity, the one having absolute authority to command, the other difficulty to resist. And where such continual war is between love and virtue, there must be some parleys and continual perils. Cupid was never conquered, and therefore must be flattered. Virginity hath, and therefore must be humbled.
Into my heart, madam, there did never enter any motion of love.
Those that often say they cannot love or will not love, certainly they love. Didst thou never see Cupid?
No, but I have heard him described at the full, and, as I imagine, foolishly. First, that he should be a god blind and naked, with wings, a bow and arrows, with firebrands, swimming sometimes in the sea and playing sometimes on the shore, with many other devices, which the painters, being the poet's apes, have taken great pains to show, as they to lie. Can I think that gods that command all things would go naked? What should he do with wings that knows not where to fly? Or what with arrows that sees not how to aim? The heart is a narrow mark to hit, and rather requireth Argus eyes to take level than a blind boy to shoot at random. If he were fire, the sea would quench those coals, or the flame turn him to cinders.
Well, Nyssa, thou shalt see him.
I fear Niobe hath felt him.
Not I, madam. Yet must I confess that ofttimes I have had sweet thoughts, sometimes hard conceits, betwixt both a kind of yielding. I know not what, but certainly I think it is not love. Sigh I can, and find ease in melancholy. Smile I do, and take pleasure in imagination. I feel in myself a pleasing pain, a chill heat, a delicate bitterness. How to term it I know not. Without doubt it may be love. Sure I am it is not hate.
Niobe is tender-hearted, whose thoughts are like water, yielding to every tiling, and nothing to be seen.
Well, let us to Cupid, and take heed that in your stubbornness you offend him not, whom by entreaties you ought to follow. Diana's nymphs were as chaste as Ceres' virgins, as fair, as wise. How Cupid tormented them, I had rather thou should hear than feel. But this is truth, they all yielded to love. Look not scornfully, my nymphs, I say they are yielded to love. This is the temple. Thou great god Cupid, whom the gods regard and men reverence, let it be lawful for Ceres to offer her sacrifice.
Divine Ceres, Cupid accepteth anything that comes from Ceres, which feedeth my sparrows with ripe corn, my pigeons with wholesome seeds, and honourest my temple with chaste virgins.
Then, love, to thee I bring these white and spotless doves, in token that my heart is as free from any thought of love as these from any blemish, and as clear in virginity as these perfect in whiteness. But that my nymphs may know both thy power and thy laws, and neither err in ignorance nor pride, let me ask some questions to instruct them, that they offend not thee, whom resist they cannot. In virgins, what dost thou chiefest desire?
In those that are not in love, reverent thoughts of love. In those that be, faithful vows.
What dost thou most hate in virgins?
Pride in the beautiful, bitter taunts in the witty, incredulity in all.
What may protect my virgins that they may never love?
That they be never idle.
Why didst thou so cruelly torment all Diana's nymphs with love?
Because they thought it impossible to love.
What is the substance of love?
Constancy and secrecy.
What the signs?
Sighs and tears
what the causes,
Wit and idleness,
what the means,
opportunity and importunity,
what the end.
Happiness without end.
What requirest thou of men?
That only shall be known to men.
What revenge for those that will not love?
To be deceived when they do,
Well, Cupid, entreat my nymphs with favour, and though to love it be no vice, yet spotless virginity is the only virtue. Let me keep their thoughts as chaste as their bodies, that Ceres may be happy and they praised.
why, Ceres, do you think that lust followeth love? Ceres, lovers are chaste. For what is love? Divine love, but by the quintessence of chastity, and affections binding by heavenly notions that cannot be undone by earthly means, and must not be controlled by any man.
We will honour thee with continual sacrifice. Warm us with mild affections, lest, being too hot, we seem immodest like wantons, or too cold, movable like stalks.
Ceres, let this serve for all. Let not thy nymphs be light or obstinate, but as virgins should be, pitiful and faithful. So shall your flames warm, but not burn, delight, and never discomfort.
How say you, my nymphs? Doth not Cupid speak like a god? Counsel you I will not to love, but conjure you I must, that you not be disdainful. Let us in, and see how Erysichthon speedeth. Famine flieth swiftly, and hath already seized on his stomach.
Stay, cruel Nysa, thou knowest not from whom thou fliest, and therefore fliest. I come not to offer violence, but that which is inviolable. My thoughts are as holy as thy vows, and I as constant in love as thou in cruelty. Lust followeth not my love as shadows do bodies, but truth is woven into my love as veins into bodies. Let me touch this tender arm and say, my love is endless.
And to no end,
It is without spot.
and shall be without hope.
Or dost thou disdain love and his laws?
I do not disdain that which I think is not, yet laugh at those that honor if it be.
Time shall bring to pass that Nysa shall confess there is love.
Then also will love make me confess that Nysa is a fool.
Is it folly to love, which the gods are condomnable and men esteem holy?
The gods make anything lawful because they be gods, and men honor shadows for substance because they are men.
Both gods and men agree that love is a consuming of the heart, restoring a bitter death in a sweet life.
Gods do know, and men should, that love is a consuming of wit and restoring of folly, a staring blindness and a blind gazing.
Or wouldst thou allot me death?
No, but discretion.
Yield some hope.
Hope to despair.
No, so long as Nysa is a woman.
Therein, Ramus, you show yourself a man.
Why?
In flattering yourself that all women will yield.
All may.
Thou shalt swear that we cannot.
I will follow thee, and practice by denials to be patient, or by disdaining die, and so be happy.
Though thou hast overtaken me in love, yet have I overtaken thee in running. Fair Celia, yield to love, to sweet love.
Montanus, thou art mad, that having no breath almost in running so fast, thou wilt yet spend more in speaking so foolishly. Yield to love I cannot, or if I do, to thy love I will not.
The fairest wolf chooseth the foulest, if he be faithfulest, and he that endureth most grief, not he that hath most beauty.
If my thoughts were wolfish, thy hopes might be as thy comparison is, beastly.
I would thy words were, as thy looks are, lovely.
I would thy looks were as thy affection is, blind.
Fair faces should have smooth hearts.
Fresh flowers have crooked roots.
Women's beauties will wane, and then no art can make them fair.
Men's follies will ever wax, and then what reason can make them wise?
To be amiable and not to love is like a painted lady to have colours and no life.
To be amorous and not lovely is like a pleasant fool, full of words and no deserts.
What call you deserts? What lovely?
No lovelier thing than wit, no greater desert than patience.
Have not I an excellent wit?
If thou think so thyself, thou art an excellent fool.
Fool? No, Celia, thou shalt find me as wise as I do thee proud, and as little to digest thy taunts as thou to brook my love.
I thought, Montanus, that you could not deserve, when I told you what it was, a patience.
Sweet Celia, I will be patient, and forget this.
Then want you wit, that you can be content to be patient.
A hard choice, if I take all well, to be a fool, and if find fault, then to want patience.
The fortune of love and the virtue is neither to have success nor mean. Farewell.
Oh, farewell. Nay, I will follow, and I know not how it cometh to pass. Disdain increaseth desire, and the further possibility standeth, the nearer approacheth hope. I follow.
Polypus Niobe is ever of the colour of the stone it sticketh to, and thou ever of his humour thou talkest with.
Find you fault that I love?
So many.
Would you have me like none?
Yes, one.
Who shall make my choice but myself?
Myself.
For another to put thoughts into my head were to pull the brains out of my head. Take not measure of my affections, but weigh your own. The oak findeth no fault with the dew, because it also falleth on the bramble. Believe me, Sylvestris, the only way to be mad is to be constant. Poets make their wreaths of laurel, ladies of sundry flowers.
The sweet Niobe, a river running into diverse brooks, becometh shallow, and the mind divided into sundry affections in the end will have none. What joy can I take in the fortune of my love, when I shall know many to have the like favours? Turtles flock by couples and breed both joy and young ones.
But bees in swarms and bring forth wax and honey.
Why do you covet many that may find sweetness in one?
Why had Argus 100 eyes and might have seen with one?
Because whilst he slept with some, he might wake with other some.
And I love many, because being deceived by the inconstancy of diverse, I might yet have one.
That was but a device of Juno that knew Jupiter's love.
And this a rule of Venus, that knew men's lightness.
The whole heaven hath but one sun.
But stars infinite.
The rainbow is ever in one compass.
But of sundry colors.
A woman hath but one heart.
But 1,000 thoughts.
My lute, though it hath many strings, maketh a sweet consent, and a lady's heart, though it harbour many fancies, should embrace but one love.
The strings of my heart are tuned in a contrary key to your lute, and make as sweet harmony in discords as yours in concord.
Why, what strings are in ladies' hearts, not the bass?
There is no bass string in a woman's heart.
The mean?
There was never mean in woman's heart.
The treble?
Yea, the treble, double and treble, and so are all my heartstrings. Farewell, I.
Sweet Niobe, let us sing, that I may die with the swan.
It will make you sigh the more, and I live with the Salamich.
Are thy tunes fire?
Are yours death?
No, but when I've heard thy voice, I'm content to die.
I will sing to content thee. La la la.
Inconstant Niobe, unhappy Sylvestris, yet I had rather she should rather love all than none. For now, though I have no certainty yet, do I find a kind of sweetness.
Cruel Nypha, born to slaughter men.
Coy Celia, bred up in scoffs.
Wavering yet witty Niobe. But are we all met?
Yea, and met withal. If your fortunes be answerable to mine, for I find my mistress immovable, and the hope I have is to despair.
Mine, in pride intolerable, who biddeth me look for no other comfort than contempt.
Mine is best of all, and worst. This is my hope, that either she will have many or none.
I fear our fortunes cannot thrive, for Erysichthon hath felled down the holy tree of Ceres, which will increase in her choler and in her nymphs cruelty. Let us see whether our garlands be there, which we hanged on the tree. Let us hang ourselves upon another.
A remedy for love irremovable. But I will first see whether all those that love Niobe do like. In the mean season, I will content myself with my share.
Here is the tree. Oh, mischief scarce to be believed, impossible to be pardoned.
Pardoned it is not, for Erysichthon perished with famine. He is able to starve those that look on him. But here, hang our garlands. Something is written. Read mine.
Seclet amor rebus res age tutus eris.
Oh, and mine.
Sat mihi si facias sit bene nota mihi. Now for myself, Victoria tecum stabid. Sicilicet.
You see their posies is as their hearts, and their hearts as to their speeches, cruel, proud, and wavering. Let us all to the temple of Cupid, and entreat his favour, if not to obtain their loves, yet to revenge their hates. Cupid is a kind god who, knowing our unspotted thoughts, will punish them or release us. We will study what revenge to have, that our pains proceeding of our own minds, their plagues may also proceed from theirs. Are you all agreed?
Excellent. But what if Cupid deny help?
Then he is no god.
But if he yield, what shall we ask?
Revenge?
Then let us prepare ourselves for Cupid's sacrifice.
Come, Protea, dear daughter, that name thou must buy too dear. Necessity causeth thee to be sold. Nature must frame thee to be contented. Thou seest in how short a space I've turned all my goods into my guts, for I feel a continual fire which nothing can quench. My famine increaseth by eating, resembling the sea, which receiveth all things and cannot be filled. Life is sweet, hunger sharp. Between them the contention must be short, unless thou, Protea, prolong it. I have acknowledged my offence against Ceres. Makes amend I cannot. But the gods, holding the balance in their hands, what recompense can equally weigh with their punishments? What is he that, having but one ill thought of Ceres, that can raise it with 1,000 dutiful actions? Such is the difference, that none can find defence. This is the odds. We miserable and men, they immortal and gods.
Dear father, I will obey both to sale and slaughter, accounting it the only happiness of my life, should I live 100 years to prolong yours but 1 minute. I yield, father. Chop me and change me, I am ready. But first let me make my prayers to Neptune, and withdraw yourself till I have done. Long it shall not be. Now it must be.
Stay, sweet Protea, and that great god hear thy prayer, though Ceres stop her ears to mine.
Sacred Neptune, whose godhead conquered my maidenhead, be as ready to hear my passions as I was to believe thine, and perform that now, I entreat, which thou didst promise when thyself didst love. Let me be not a prey to this merchant, who knows no other god than gold, lest it be falsely swearing by a god to get gold. Let me, as often as I be bought for money, or pawned for meat, be turned into a bird, hare, or lamb, or any shape wherein I may be safe. So shall I preserve mine own honour, my father's life, and never repent me of thy love. And now bestir thee, for of all men I hate that merchant, who, if he find my beauty worth 1 penny, will put it to use to gain 10, having no religion in his mind, nor word in his mouth but money. Neptune, here, now or never. Father, I have done.
In good time, Protea, thou hast done. For lo, the merchant keepeth not us only day, but hour.
If I had not been here, had I been forfeited?
No, Protea, but thy father famished. Here, gentlemen, I'm ready with my daughter.
Gentlemen?
Yea, gentlemen, fair maid. My conditions make me no less.
Your conditions indeed brought in your obligations. Your obligations your usury, your gentry.
Oh, why? Do you judge no merchants, gentlemen?
Yes, many, and some no men.
You shall be well entreated at my hands.
I may. Commanded I will not be.
If you be mine by bargain, you shall.
Father, hath this merchant also bought my mind?
He cannot buy that which cannot be sold.
Here's the money.
Here is the maid. Farewell, my sweet daughter. I commit thee to the gods and this man's courtesy, whom I hope will deal no worse with thee than he would have done the gods with him. I must be gone, lest I do starve as I stand.
Farewell, dear father. I will not cease continually to pray to Ceres for recovery.
You are now mine, Protea.
And mine own.
In will, not power.
In power, if I will.
I perceive. Nettles gently touched sting, but roughly handled make no smart.
Yet roughly handled nettles are nettles, and a wasp is a wasp, though she lose her sting.
Ah, but then they do no harm.
Nor good?
Come with me. You shall see that merchants know their good as well as gentlemen.
Sure I am they have gentlemen's goods.
This is the temple of our great god. Oh, let's offer our sacrifice.
I am ready.
And I, Cupid, thou god of love, whose arrows have pierced our hearts, give ear to our plaints.
If you come to Cupid, speak boldly, so must lovers. Speak faithfully, so must feeders.
These ever-burning lamps are signs of my never-to-be-quenched flames. This bleeding heart in which yet sticks the head of the golden shaft, is the lively picture of inward torments. Mine eyes shall bedew thine altars with tears, and my sighs cover thy temple with a dark smoke. Pity poor Ramis.
With this distaff have I spun, that my exercises be as womanish as my affections, and so did Hercules. And with this halter will I hang myself, if my fortunes answer not my deserts. And so did Iphis. To thee, divine Cupid, I present not a bleeding, but a bloodless heart, dried only with sorrow, and worn with faithful service. This picture I offer, carved with no other instrument than love. Pity poor Montanus.
This fan of swans and turtles' feathers is token of my truth and jealousy. Jealousy without which love is dotage, and with which love is madness, without the which love is lust, and with which love is folly. This heart, neither bleeding nor bloodless, but swollen with sighs, I offer to thy Godhead, protesting that all my thoughts are as my words without lust, and all my love as my fortune without sweetness. This garland of flowers, which hath all the colours of the rainbow, witnesseth that my heart hath all the torments of the world. Pity poor Sylvestris.
I accept your offers, not without cause, and wonder at your loves, not without pleasure. But be your thoughts as true as your words.
But thou, Cupid, that givest the wound, knowest the heart. For it's impossible it is to conceal our affections as to resist thy force.
I know that where mine arrow lighteth, there breedeth love. But shooting every minute 1,000 shafts, I know not on whose heart they light, though they fall on no place but hearts. What are your mistresses?
Fairest maidens, mine most cruel, which she calleth constancy.
Mine most fair, but most proud.
Mine most witty, but most wavering.
Is the one cruel, the other coy, the third inconstant?
Too cruel.
Too coy.
Too fickle.
What do they think of Cupid?
Oh, one saith he has no eyes, because he hits he knows not whom.
The other that he hath no ears to hear those that call.
The third that he hath no nose, for satyrs are not fond of lovers.
All that he hath no taste, because sweet and sour is all one.
All that he hath no sense, because pains are pleasures, and pleasures pains.
All that he is a foolish god, working without reason, and suffering the repulse without regard.
Dare they blaspheme my godhead, which Jove doth worship, Neptune reverence, and all the gods tremble at? To make them love were a revenge too gentle for Cupid. To make you hate, a recompense too small for lovers. But of that anon. What have you used in love?
All things that may procure love. Gifts, words, oaths, sighs, and swoonings.
What said they of gifts?
That affection could not be bought with gold.
What of words?
They were golden blasts out of leaden bellows.
What of oaths?
That Jupiter never sware true to Juno.
What of sighs?
That deceit kept a forge in the hearts of fools.
What of swooning?
Nothing but that they wished them deaths.
What reasons gave they not to love?
Women's reasons, they would not because they would not.
Well, Then you shall see Cupid requite their reasons with his rigour. What punishment do you desire that Cupid will deny?
Mine, being so hard as stone, would have I turned to stone, that being to lovers pitiless, she may to all the world be senseless.
Mine, being so fair and so proud, would I have turned into some flower, that she may know beauty is as fading as grass, which being fresh in the morning is withered before night.
Mine, divine Cupid, whose affection nothing can make staled, let her be turned to that bird that liveth only by air, and dieth if she touch the earth, because it is constant. The bird of paradise, Cupid, that drawing in her bowels nothing but air, she may know her heart fed on nothing but fickleness.
Your revenges are reasonable and shall be granted. Thou, Nysa, whose heart no tears could pierce, shall with continual waves be wasted. Instead of thy fair hair, shalt thou have green moss, thy face of flint, because thy heart is of marble. Thine ears shall be holes for fishes, whose ears were more deaf than fishes. Thou, Celia, whom beauty made proud, shall have the fruit of beauty, that is, to fade whilst it is flourishing, and to blast before it is blown. Thy face, as fair as the damask rose, shall perish like the damask rose. The canker shall eat thee in the bud, and every little wind blow thee from the stalk, and then shall men in the morning wear thee in their hats, and at night cast thee at their heels. Thou, Niobe, whom nothing can please but that which most displeaseth Cupid, inconstancy, shall only breathe and suck air for food, and wear feathers for silk, being more wavering than air and lighter than feathers. This will Cupid do. Therefore, when next you shall behold your ladies, do but send a faithful sigh to Cupid, and there shall arise a thick mist which Proserpine shall send, and in the moment you shall be revenged, and they changed. Cupid prove himself a great god, and they peevish girls.
With what sacrifice shall we show ourselves thankful? But how may we requite this benefit?
You shall yearly at my temple offer true hearts, and hourly bestow all your wits in loving devices. Think all the time lost that is not spent in love. Let your oaths be without number, but not without truth. Your words full of alluring sweetness, but not of broad flattery. Your attires neat, but not womanish. Your gifts of more price for the fine device than the great value, and yet of such value that the device seem not beggarly, nor yourselves blockish. Be secret, that worketh miracles. Be constant, that bringeth secrecy. This is all Cupid doth command. Away.
And to this we all willingly consent. Now, what resteth but revenge on them that have practiced malice on us? Or let mine be anything, seeing she will not be only mine.
Let us not now stand wishing, but presently seek them out, using as great speed in following revenge as we did in pursuing our love. Certainly we shall find them about Ceres' tree, singing or sacrificing.
But shall we not go visit Erysichthon?
Not I, lest he eat us, that devoureth all things. His looks are a force to famish. Let us in, and let all ladies beware to offend those in spite that love them in honour. For when the crow shall set his foot in their eye, and the black ox tread on their foot, they shall find their misfortunes to be equal with their deformities, and men both to loathe and laugh at them. Ha 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 ha!
Protea, tell me, how didst thou escape from the merchant?
Neptune, that great god, when I was ready to go with the merchant into the ship, turned me into a fisherman on the shore, with an angle in my hand and on my shoulder a net. The merchant, missing me and yet finding me, asked me who I was and whether I saw not a fair maiden. I answered, no. He, marvelling and raging, was forced either to lose his passage or seek for me among the pebbles. To make short, a good wind caused him to go I know not whither, and me, thanks to Neptune, to return home.
Thou art happy, Protea, that thy father be miserable and Neptune gracious, though Ceres cruel. Thy escape from the merchant breedeth in me life, joy, and fullness.
My father cannot be miserable if Protea be happy. For by selling me every day, he shall never want meat, nor I ships to escape. And now, father, give me leave to enjoy my Petulius, that on this unfortunate shore still seeks me, sorrowing.
Seek him, dear Protea, find and enjoy him, and live ever hereafter to thine own comforts, that hast hitherto been the preserve of mine.
Why me? Behold, Siren haunts this shore. The gods forbid she should entangle my Petulius.
Accursed men whose loves have no other means than extremities, nor hates but mischief.
Unnatural monster, no maid, that accuseth men whose hearts are removed by courtesy. I will hear the depth of her malice.
Of all creatures most unkind and cunning, by whose subtleties I am half fish, half flesh, themselves being neither fish nor flesh, in love lukewarm, in cruelty red hot. If they praise, they flatter. If they flatter, deceive. If deceive, destroy.
She rails at men, but seeks to entangle them. This slight is prepared for my sweet Petulius. I will withdraw myself close, for Petulius followeth. He will without doubt be enamoured of her. Enchanted he shall not be. My charms shall countervail hers. It is he hath saved my father's life with money, and must prolong mine with love.
I marvel. Protea is so far before me. If she run, I'll fly. Sweet Protea, it is Petulius called Protea.
Here comes a brave youth. Now, Siren, leave out nothing that may allure. Thy golden locks, thy enticing looks, thy tuned voice, thy subtle speech, thy fair promises, which never missed the heart of any but Ulysses.
Goddess is this? What sweet harmony? My heart is ravished with such tickling thoughts, and mine eyes stayed with such a bewitching beauty. I can neither find the means to remove my affection, nor turn aside my looks. I yield to death, but with such delight that I would not wish to live unless it were to hear my sweet lays.
Live still, so thou love me. Why standest thou amazed at the word love?
'Tis high time to prevent this mischief. Now, Neptune, stand by thy promise, and let me take suddenly the shape of an old man. So shall I mar what she makes.
Not yet come to myself, or if I be, I dare not credit my ears. Love thee, divine goddess, vouchsafe I may honor thee, and live by the imagination I have of thy words and worthiness.
I am a goddess, but a lady and a virgin, whose love, if thou embrace, thou shalt live no less happy than the gods in heaven.
Believe not this enchantress, sweet youth, who retaineth the face of a virgin, but the heart of a fiend, whose sweet tongue sheddeth more drops of blood than it uttereth syllables.
Yeah, adulterer, whose dim eyes cannot discern beauty, nor doting age judge of love.
If thou listen to her words, thou shalt not live to repent. For her malice is as sudden as her joys are sweet.
Thy silver hairs are not so precious as her golden locks, nor thy crooked age of bad estimation as her flowering youth.
That old man measureth the hot assault of love with the cold skirmishes of age.
That young cruel resembleth old apes, who kill by culling. From the top of this rock, whereon she sitteth, she will throw thee headlong into the sea, whose song is the instrument of her witchcraft, never smiling but when she meaneth to smite, and under the flattery of love practiseth the shedding of blood.
What art thou, which so blasphemest thou this divine creature?
I am the ghost of Ulysses, who continually hover about these places where this siren haunteth, to save those which otherwise should be spoiled. Stop thine ears as I did mine, and succour the fair, but by thy folly the most unfortunate, Protea.
Protea? What dost thou here, Petulus? Where is Protea?
In this thicket, ready to hang herself because thou carest not for her that did swear to follow. Curse this hag, who only had the voice and face of a virgin, the rest all fish and feathers and filth. Follow me, and strongly stop thine ears, lest the second encounter make the wound incurable.
Is this a siren? And thou, Ulysses? Cursed be that hellish carcass, and blessed be thy heavenly spirit.
I shrink my head for shame. Oh, Ulysses, is it not enough for thee to escape, but also to teach others? Sing and die, nay, die and never sing more.
Oh. Follow me at this door, and out at another.
How am I delivered? The old man is vanished, and here for him stands...
Here standeth Protea, that hath saved thy life. Thou must also prolong hers, but let us into the woods, and there I will tell thee how I came to Ulysses, and the sum of all my fortunes, which, happily, will breed in the both love and wonder.
Oh, Protea, I never cease to wonder at Protea.
Cupid, thou hast transformed my nymphs and incensed me, them to shapes unreasonable, me to anger immortal. For at one time I am both robbed of mine honor and my nymphs.
Ceres, thy nymphs were stubborn, and thyself, speaking so imperiously to Cupid, somewhat stately. If you ask the cause in choler, sic volo sic uebo. If in courtesy, quae venit ex merito poena dolenda venit. They were disdainful, and have their deserts. Thou, Ceres, dost but govern the guts of men. I, the heart. Thou seekest to starve Eryxathon with thy ministered famine, whom his daughter shall preserve by my virtue. Love.
Thou art but a god, Cupid.
No, Ceres, but such a god that maketh thunder fall out of Jove's hand by throwing thoughts into his heart, and to be more terrified with the sparkling of a lady's eye than men with the flashes of his lightning. Such a god that hath kindled more fire in Neptune's bosom than the whole sea which he is king of can quench. Such power have I, that Pluto's never-dying fire doth but scorch in respect of my flames. Diana hath felt some motions of love, Vesta doth. Ceres shall.
Art thou so cruel?
To those that resist, a lion. To those that submit, a lamb.
Canst thou make such difference in affection? Yet shall it all be love?
Yea, as much as between sickness and health, though in both be life. Those that yield and honour Cupid shall possess sweet thoughts and enjoy pleasing wishes. The other shall be tormented with vain imaginations and impossible hopes.
How may my nymphs be restored?
If thou restore Erysichthon, they embrace their loves, and all offer sacrifice to me.
Erysichthon did in contempt hew down my sacred tree.
Thy nymphs did in disdain scorn my constant love.
He slew most cruelly my chaste Fidelia, whose blood lieth yet on the ground.
But Diana hath changed her blood to fresh flowers, which are to be seen on the ground.
What honour shall he do to Ceres? What amends can he make to Fidelia?
All Ceres' grove shall he deck with garlands, and account every tree a holy. A stately monument shall he erect in remembrance of Fidelia, and offer yearly sacrifice.
What sacrifice shall I and my nymphs offer thee? For I will do anything to restore my nymphs and honour thee.
You shall present, in honour of my mother, Venus, grapes and wheat, for sine serere et baccho friget Venus. You shall suffer your nymphs to play, sometimes to be idle, in the favour of Cupid, or otia si tollas periere Cupidinis arcus. If you take away leisure, Cupid's bow will lose its power. So much for Ceres. Thy nymphs shall make no vows to continue virgins, nor use words to disgrace love, nor fly from opportunities that kindle affections. If they be chaste, let them not be cruel. If fair, not proud. If loving, not inconstant. Cruelty is for tigers, pride for peacocks, inconstancy for fools.
Cupid, I yield, and they shall. Sweet Cupid, let them not be deceived by flattery, which taketh the shape of affection, nor by lust, which is clothed in the habit of love. For men have as many sleights to delude as they have words to speak.
Those that practice deceit shall perish. Cupid favoureth none but the faithful.
Well, I will go to Erysichthon and bring him before thee.
Then shall thy nymphs recover their forms, so as they yield to love.
They shall.
A strange discourse, Protea, by which I find the gods amorous, and virgins immortal, goddesses full of cruelty, and men of unhappiness.
I have told both my father's misfortunes, grown by stoutness, and mine by weakness. His thwarting of Ceres, my yielding to Neptune.
I know, Protea, that hard iron, falling into fire, waxes soft, and then the tender heart of a virgin being in love must needs melt. For what should a fair, young, and witty lady answer to the sweet enticements of love, but mole meum levibus cor est inviolabile telis?
I have heard too that hearts of men, stiffer than steel, have by love been made softer than wool. And then they cry, omnia vincit amor, et nos cadamus amori.
Men have often feigned signs.
And women forged tears.
Suppose I love not.
Suppose I care not.
If men swear and lie, how will you try their love?
If women swear they love, how will you try their dissembling?
The gods put wit into women,
and nature deceit into men.
I did this but to try your patience.
Nor I, but to prove your faith. But see, Petulius, what miraculous punishments here are for deserts in love. This rock was a nymph to Ceres. So was this rose. So that bird.
All changed from the shapes?
All changed by Cupid because they disdained love, or dissembled in it.
A fair warning to Protea. I hope she will love without dissembling.
An item for Petulius, that he delude not those that love him. For Cupid can also change men. Let us in.
Well, this goes luckily. Cupid hath promised to restore our mistresses, and Ceres that they shall accept our loves.
I did ever imagine that true love would end with sweet joys, though it was begun with deep sighs.
But how shall we look on them when we shall see them smile? We must, and perchance they will frown.
Oh, a tush. Well, let us endure the bending of their fair brows and the scorching of their sparkling eyes, so that we may possess at last the depth of their affections.
Possess, never doubt it, for Ceres hath restored Erysichthon, and therefore will persuade with them, nay, command them.
If it come by commandment of Ceres and not their own motions, I rather they should hate. For what joy can there be in our lives or in our love's sweetness when every kiss shall be sealed with a curse, and every kind word proceed of fear and affection? Enforcement is worse than enchantment.
Art thou so superstitious in love, that was wont to be most careless? Or let them curse all day, so I may have but one kiss at night.
Thou art worse than Sylvestrus, he not content with absolute love, thou with indifferent.
But here cometh Ceres with Erysichthon. Let us look demurely, for in her heart she hates us deeply.
I will hallow thy woods with solemn feasts, and honour all thy nymphs with due regard.
Well, do so, and thank Cupid that commands. Nay, thank my foolish nymphs that know not how to obey. Here be the lovers ready at receipt. How now, gentlemen, what seek you?
Oh, nothing but what Ceres would find.
Ceres hath found those that I would she had lost, vain lovers.
Ceres may lose that Cupid would save, true lovers.
You think so of one another.
Cupid knoweth so of us all.
You might have made me a counsel of your loves.
Ay, madam, if love would admit counsel.
Cupid, here is Erysichthon in his former state. Restore my nymphs to theirs. Then shall they embrace these lovers who wither out their youth.
Honored be mighty Cupid, that makes me love.
And me.
What, more lovers yet? I think it'll be impossible for Ceres to have any follow her in 1 hour that is not in love in the next.
Erysichthon, be thou careful to honour Ceres, and forget not to please her nymphs. The faithful love of thy daughter, Protea, hath wrought both pity in me to grant her desires, and to release thy punishments. Thou, Petulius, shall enjoy thy love, because I know thee loyal.
Then shall Petulius be most happy.
And Protea most fortunate.
But do you, Ramus, continue your constant love? And you, Montanus, and you, Sylvestrus?
Nothing can alter our affections, which increase while the means decrease, and wax stronger and being weakened.
Then, Venus, send down that shower wherewith thou wert wont to wash those that do thee worship, and let love, by thy beams, be honoured in all the world, and feared, wished for, and wondered at. Here are thy nymphs, Ceres.
Whom do I see? Nicer!
Divine Celia, fairer than ever she was.
My sweet Niobe.
Why stare you, my nymphs, as amazed? Triumph rather, because you have your shapes. This great god Cupid, that for your prides and follies changed, hath by my prayer and promise restored you.
You see, ladies, what it is to make a mock of love or a scorn of Cupid. See where your lovers stand. You must now take them for your husbands. This is my judgment. This is Ceres' promise.
Happy Ramis.
Happy Montanus.
Happy Sylvestris.
Why speak you not, nymphs? This must be done. You must yield.
Not I.
Nor I.
Nor I.
Not yield. Then shall Cupid in his fury turn you again to senseless and shameful shapes.
Will you not yield? How say you, Ramis? Do your loves continue? Are your thoughts constant? And yours, Montanus, and yours, Sylvestris?
Mine most unspotted.
And mine.
And mine, Cupid, which nothing can alter.
And will you not yield, virgins?
Not I, Cupid. Neither do I thank thee that I am restored to life, nor fear again to be changed to stone, but rather I had been worn with the continual beating of waves, than dulled with the importunities of men, whose flatteries make way to their secret lusts, retaining as little truth in their hearts as modesty in their words. How happy was Nysa, which felt nothing, pined, yet not felt the consumption. Unfortunate wench, that now have ears to hear their cunning lies, and eyes to behold their dissembling looks. Turn me, Cupid, again, for love I will not.
Miserable Ramis. Unhappy to love, to change the lady accursed, and now lose her. Desperate.
Nor I, Cupid. Well could I content myself to bud in the summer and to die in the winter. For more good cometh of the rose than can by love. When it is fresh, it hath a sweet savor, love a sour taste. The rose, when it is old, loseth not his virtue. Love, when it is stale, waxeth loathsome. The rose, distilled with fire, yieldeth sweet water. Love, in extremities, kindles jealousies. In the rose, however it be, there is sweetness. In love, nothing but bitterness. If men look pale and swear and sigh, then forsooth women must yield, because men say they love, as though our hearts were tied to their tongues, and we must choose them by appointment, ourselves feeling no affection, and so have our thoughts bound prentices to their words. Turn me again, yield I will not.
Which way shalt thou turn thyself, since nothing will turn her heart? Die, Montanus, with shame and grief, and both infinite.
Nor I, Cupid. Let me hang always in the air, which I found more constant than men's words. Happy Niobe, that touched not the ground where they go, but always holding thy beak in the air, didst never turn back to behold the earth. In the heavens I saw an orderly course, in the earth nothing but disorderly love and peevishness. Turn me again, Cupid, for yield I will not.
I would myself were stone, flower, or fowl, seeing that Nysa hath a heart harder than stone, a face fairer than the rose, and a mind lighter than feathers.
Have we here? Hath punishment made you perverse? Ceres, I vow here by my sweet mother Venus, that if they yield not, I will turn them again, not to flowers or stones or birds, but to monsters, no less filthy to be seen and to be named hateful. They shall creep that now stand, and be to all men odious, and be to themselves, for the mind they shall retain. loathsome.
My sweet nymphs, for the honor of your sex, for the love of Ceres, for regard of your own country, yield to love. Yield, my sweet nymphs, to sweet love.
Shall I yield to him that practiced my destruction, and when his love was hottest, caused me to be changed into a rock?
The extremity of love is madness, and to be mad is to be senseless. Upon that rock did I resolve to end my life. Fair Nysa, forgive him thy change, that for himself provided a harder chance.
Shall I yield to him that made so small account of my beauty, that he studied how he might never behold it again?
Fair lady, in the rose did I always behold thy colour, and resolved by continual gazing to perish, which I could not do when thou wast in thine own shape. Thou wast so coy and swift in flying from me.
Shall I yield to him that caused me have wings, that I might fly farther from him?
Sweet Niobe, the farther you did seem to be from me, the nearer I was to my death, which, to make it more speedy, wished the wings to fly into the air, and myself led on my heels to sink into the sea.
Well, my good nymphs, yield. Let Ceres entreat you. Yield.
I am content, so as Rummels, when he finds me cold in love or hard in belief, he attributed it to his own folly, in that I retain some nature of the rock he changed me into.
Oh, my sweet Nysa, be what thou wilt. Let all thy imperfections be excused by me, so thou but say thou lovest me.
I do.
Happy Ramis!
I consent, so as Montanus, when in the midst of his sweet delight, shall find some bitter overthwart, impute it to his folly, in that he suffered me to be a rose that hath prickles with her pleasantness, as he is like to have with my love shrewdness.
Let me bleed every minute with the prickles of the rose, so that I may enjoy but 1 hour the savour. Love, fair Celia, and at thy pleasure comfort and confound.
I do.
Fortunate Montanus!
I yielded first in mind, though it be my course last to speak. But if Sylvestris find me not ever at home, let him curse himself that gave me wings to fly abroad, whose feathers if his jealousies shall break, my policy shall nip. Non custodiri nivellit ulla protest.
My sweet Niobe, fly whither thou wilt all day, so I may find thee in my nest at night. I will love thee and believe thee. Sit motto non feci dicere lingua memor.
I am glad you are all agreed. Enjoy your loves and every one his delights. Thou, Eriscithon, art restored of Ceres, all the lovers pleased by Cupid, she joyful, I honoured. Now, ladies, I will make such unspotted love among you that there shall be no suspicion nor jar, no unkindness nor jealousy, but let all ladies hereafter heed that they resist not love, which worketh wonders.
I will charm my nymphs, as they shall neither be so stately as not to stoop to love, nor so light as presently to yield.
Here is none but is happy. But do not, as Hippomenes did, when by Venus' aid he won Atalanta, defile her temple with unchaste desires and forget to sacrifice vows. I will soar up into heaven to settle the loves of the gods that in earth have disposed the affections of men.
I to my harvest, whose corn is now come out of the blade into the ear, and let all this amorous troop to the temple of Venus, there to consummate what Cupid hath commanded.
I, in the honour of Cupid and Ceres, will solemnize this feast within my house, and learn, if it be not too late, again to love. But you foresters were unkind that in all my maladies would not visit me.
Thou knowest, Erysichthon, that lovers visit none but their mistresses.
Well, I will not take it unkindly, since all ends in kindness.
Let it be so. These lovers mind nothing what we say.
We attend on Ceres.
Well, do.
And they all live happily ever after. Discuss. Well done, everyone. Erysichthon. I'd forgotten that when we did the first look at this, we sort of realised too late that you've got this really thorny name to tangle with, and everybody says it in this sort of never-ending litany. I don't know why it gets so often brought out, and it's like, yeah, do the tongue twister, do it. Okay, this play is doing so many things, and it is leaving it. I certainly, from my point of view, it's just such a destabilizing play. It starts off, oh look, there's some people in the woods, they're writing things on thieves, aren't they lovely, lovely, lovely? Tree dies, it's a nymph, blood everywhere. And then we have all these people who are just so utterly emotionally incapable of dealing with things. But of course they're played by children in the original production. They're played, and so it's this thing of all these children who don't know how to deal with love and don't know how to deal with their expectations of what they feel and what other people might feel, and they're then given powers because there are gods, and so they do these horrible things, and then somehow you try to resolve it into a happy ending, but Lyly doesn't quite give us a happy ending. He gives us a sort of a resolution, but he does also give people the opportunity to say, you, at the end. So it's doing all sorts of things, and it's such an interesting play. It really is. I think I have said many of the things I wanted to say, but thoughts in the room. Who wants to leap in on this? Emma, you had fun with Cupid, I can tell. Cupid is such a fun role, because Cupid's such a sod.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, Cupid is very fun. All of that power in a very cruel little child makes for a very fun character. I love the fact that he's also he can turn on a dime as well. I feel like he can suddenly be very angry and vengeful, and then all sweet and nice. You never know quite where you are with him.
Yeah, it's, you'll be mid-conversation and so, yeah, oh, that's lovely. Now talk about me.
Yes, also very vain. Spoiled.
And they give the worst responses. I mean, really, it's like, you really want to upset this god? Is that your plan? A good plan. Other thoughts? Who wants to dig into this? Because there's just, I say, all these layers, all these things bouncing around. It'd be interesting to know what the music's supposed to be like, and how much additional music may or may not have existed in the production as well, because this is all about mood and tone and shifting tones as well. Eric.
Well, I asked this in the chat. Well, it was more like me noting it in the chat, so I remember to ask it later. It was that thing about, like, are the shepherds meant to be over the top, sort of like, or are they meant to be like genuine, so that to the point of like, I love her so much I hate her, like that kind, or like I want her to suffer like I did, or it just how on earth do you play this? I mean, obviously, like, some of them can be like over the top because this is sort of comedy-ish nearly, but it's not. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really helps to be played by adolescent boys. I think that's the thing, is it is over the top, but it is also intense and internal at the same time. Lois.
Yeah, they're not shepherds, they're foresters, which
Mm.
may make a difference. I mean, they're used to going around killing things. They're not used to sitting quietly and tending sheep. So they have sort of, different personalities. But yeah, I find it puzzling too, because, the dialogues between the men and the women are typical courtship of the period. They're typical Restoration comedy type talk, and they usually don't lead anywhere except to marriage. But here, the men treat the women as if saying this kind of thing were absolutely disgusting and offensive, and has to be punished. And I don't know. I mean, I would imagine that, given that there is so much dialogue of this type in drama of the period, and usually it's quite harmless, that an audience wouldn't think that the women were being any worse than women usually are in these plays.
Mm. Other thoughts. I say this is a world of gods and monsters and sirens, and that little subplot it's really interesting that it's in the mix, because it's not particularly vital to the overall flow, but it really adds something to the mix I really like. And it's not like we've got a play with a Lyly play with sudden random servants coming on. It's quite novel, actually, that we haven't got a random subplot that is totally divorced. This is an extension of the plot in interesting ways. Thoughts? Someone wave. Everyone's smaller. So Kyle, then Lynn.
I really liked it. I felt like it was interesting in the dialogue between the males and the females, because I felt like after Cupid turned them into various things and they were able to protest yielding, I thought that was surprising and interesting. And also the way in which they kind of negotiate how they're going to be treated in the future with their prickles and stuff like that. It felt very wife of Bathish for me. So I always see Lyly as pro-feminine.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't want to absolutely push us all the way one way. I mean, it's leaving enough leeway to that you don't fully land in a way a romantic comedy would, and this isn't really doing that business. Lynn, then Stephen.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the Protea, her boyfriend, whose name also begins with P. I really like their relationship. It just seems a little healthier than the other relationships that we see, and the fact that she has this clever ruse of pretending to be the ghost of Ulysses. Oh no, I know this bad news. She's bad news. I'm the ghost. Oh, okay, I'll stay away from her. It's really it's really very charming. And you do have like one example of two people who genuinely care for each other, and things are going to work out between them. It's just a little bit of a relief, because the other three, that Ramus and Nisus and all of those, they just seem kind of toxic.
Yeah, and it's but then you've got the sort of Protea's got this slightly toxic relationship with her father, which she sort of navigates in quite interesting ways. It's just like this isn't a good starting point but it weirdly sort of it goes in interesting ways. Stephen, then Aliki, then Sarah.
I wonder. I mean, I think it's great, isn't it, seeing these different performances bring you different things. But the way Aliki was playing Ceres at the end there, just kind of coming across maybe as a maternal figure trying to protect these maidens who are otherwise just going to have a terrible time. And there's a sort of tragic element to this. There's this kind of grim sort of Brechtian acceptance that in this world, this is the sort of stuff you've got to put up with, sort of affectless, and that really kind of gave it a kind of emotional anchor, I think. But it's really hard to make that fit with the, oh well, I was turned to a rock, but hey, I guess it's all right, really, as though these sort of terrible punishments are just kind of some kind of 6-year-old sticking their tongue out at you, and you need to kind of learn to live with it. But I think that might be one of the ways in which a performance might go, is to kind of have this sort of watcher figure who has reluctantly got to accept this terrible state of affairs, because otherwise things are just going to be even worse. So I thought that kind of performance, the way it was done, really opened my eyes to a way you might take it. But the rest of the play is such a mishmash.
Aliki, then Sarah, and then Kyle. And then...
So I want to go back to the character of Protea, because I don't think we've given her enough attention. Not only is there this, as you say, toxic and weird relationship with her father, where she allows him to sell her into sex slavery, basically, because she knows that she can get away from it at any time. She also has this almost, by the way, here's how I have this awesome power. I had a little bit of a fling with Neptune. It's all over now, but he's cool. He likes me. He gave me this, which is, unheard of either in mythology or in any other early modern play that I know of, for a woman to have a consequence-free or bad consequence-free affair with a god. Yeah, she just did that. It was nice. He didn't turn her into a fish afterwards, but she gets to have this superpower. I mean, that I'm trying to think of another woman in any mythological setup that has such a sweet deal out of a relationship with a deity. And then this kind of sweet, loving relationship that appears out of nowhere. I forget what his name is, Protesilaus, whatever his name is, isn't even mentioned until after she's gotten away from the merchant. And then she's like, oh, I wonder if my boyfriend is around here. There he is with the siren. I'll go take care of that. What an extraordinary character.
Yes. It's that awkward thing of going, oh, my boyfriend. Oh, no, not a siren. It's just, what's my day like? Sarah, and then Kyle, and then Eric, then Lois, I think.
Just another thing to deal with today. The siren.
It's not one
Yes.
thing, it's another. Yeah.
That was, if it's not one thing, it's another. Following on from what Aliki said, I feel with this play, if you were doing a production today, you have to lean in very strongly into the agency or lack thereof of the female characters, because there are different, considering this is a set in a sort of patriarchal ancient Greek world where women don't have any agency at all. There are varying degrees of it. You've got Fidelia right at the beginning, who has no agency, at all, and comes to a very quick end. You've then got Protea, who doesn't appear to have any agency when we first meet her. She's absolutely, she's about to be sold to a man. So she appears to have no agency at all. And yet, as Aliki said, she has this thing going on with Neptune. And also, like Aliki didn't say it, but she implied it. The fact that what isn't implied, and I think the fact that it's left out is really important, that he raped her, because normally with Neptune and the nymphs that he, has it away with, it's very much a case of he is raping them. And then not only does he rape them, but, terrible things happen to them afterwards as well. Whereas with her, it does seem to have been consensual. It seems that she's really enjoyed it. And now she gets to call on this god whenever she needs a convenient superpower. And so she goes from a state of having no agency at all at first glance to actually having tons. And she uses it to such good effect. And her and Petunius are just, when they do finally get together, once the siren's been, warded off with the ghost of Ulysses, they have this kind of great relationship. They have this back and forth. It's kind of witty and sexy, and they just seem really well matched. And you've got there a fantastic amount of agency that comes apparently from none at all, but blossoms throughout the course of the play. And then you've got these nymphs who appear to have, they're almost like a reverse journey to Protea. They appear to have agency at the beginning. And then, of course, by the end, they've acquiesced to, you know, what Cupid wants them to do. But they do it in quite an interesting way, because each of them, in acquiescing, does retain something. It's like, well, yes, but remember that I've been a rock. You turn me into a rock, and so I'm going to retain some stone within me. Don't complain about this later. And the guys are then all like, oh, yeah, no, it's fine, whatever. You just be a rock whenever you need to, darling. Which isn't agency at all, in the context of the situation they find themselves in, but it does sort of raise questions about what their future agency could be. So I think, you know, it is a very strange and interesting and like just really, it really draws me in, this play, and partly because it is a challenge and it is quite problematic in places, but I think all that could actually really work in a production if you did lean into this thing of female agency. And also, I mean, Ceres as well, I didn't talk about her, but her relationship with Cupid as well as a whole other area to explore. So that's something that I think could reap rewards if you went down that avenue in the rehearsal room.
I mean, the play is about a patriarchal world. I mean, what's interesting about this world is we actually have more female characters than we have male. This is very rare. And by and large, I think, though I haven't looked at the stats, possibly even more substantial female roles, as well as and I don't think the play is ever really on the Foresters' side. I don't feel that we're all going, yay, go Foresters with your revenge thing. You're sitting there going, this is a terrible thing that you are doing. This is awful. You know, what are you doing? And it's I think Aliki was making this point earlier about, you know, the negotiate, and Stephen as well, that, you know, there's a negotiation going on with the world that they're existing in. You may be a god, but you're still living within a very, you know, patriarchal system of godness, and this play is sort of playing with all of those elements. I'm going to stop talking, go to Carl, then Eric, then Lois.
Yeah, I quite agree with Sarah and Aliki about the agency of the females. I think it's really exciting because, I mean, the stuff that we're seeing that's really patriarchal and controlling is also the stuff of the myth itself, and not Lyly. What Lily's bringing to the myth seems to be more in the direction of feminine agency. As they were mentioning, the daughter gets the freedom to pursue what she wants to pursue, even though it's problematic. But also the negotiations, that was exciting to me, the prickles and the stone stubbornness. And it really reminded me of like the wife of Bath, as I was saying, and her desire for sovereignty. And even in the end, when they are compelled, it's not by Cupid that they are actually compelled, but by Ceres that they listen to. And she just commands them and they do it. But they retain that. When they says he's going to turn them into monsters, they say they still reject the offer until she says do it, and then it's weird, they just do it. But I thought it's really interesting.
Yeah, and with all of these collisions of questions of agency, of who gets to do what they want and who doesn't, and also conventions. It's like the way Cupid at the end very unsatisfactorily says, and everybody's happy now, I'll just spread some love, it'll be fine. And you're sitting there, you know, no, it's not. And we know it's not fine. And we know this isn't actually what's happening. This is just a sort of sop. But it's deliberately not satisfactory. And there's something about that Lyly keeps doing, which is not quite leaving you with you know, the conventional ending. It's like there's a bit of it, but it's not really there. Eric, then Lois.
I was just going to talk about Ceres, sort of, because I find her interesting. Well, also because at the beginning we were going like, oh my god, Aliki is so terrifying, like this, like, you know, ultimate goddess kind of thing, and then just kind of like from that she went to being basically manipulated by Cupid, which is fascinating. I mean, if you think about, like, she's a goddess, she shouldn't give a toss about. Okay, we maybe not like give a toss about Cupid, but sort of on the equality scale, like. Yeah, I don't know. I find it fascinating. It's like the sort of Maslow's hierarchy of needs or something. If it's like food and love, okay? Yeah, just I find that relationship very interesting.
Yes, the tweaks that are being done to conventions around these two gods, and who's in charge, and how that power struggle functions. So there's lots of stuff I think you can unpack in rehearsal and try and filter into a show. Lois.
Yeah, and I suppose Protea is really Proteus. I mean, the god of infinite shape changes, isn't she? I mean, the thing that struck me about that bit of the story was just that we don't know anything about her until after her father has told her that he's selling her to the merchants. So it's not clear. Does he know that she has this superpower, so it's okay? And then we don't know that she's got a boyfriend until after we've discovered this, which obviously also, I mean, we don't know whether her father knows that he's selling her, away from the man she loves. In other words, it has a certain effect on our feelings about Rissikhan.
Yes, I'll go to Aliki and Sarah and anyone else. We're rattling towards the end of the session. If you do want to be heard, do wave. Aliki.
Lois said something that's particularly important that I think we haven't really explored, which is that Proteus is a made-up character. Proteus is an ancient god of whom not much is known. He's to do with change. He's to do with the sea. There isn't a lot of myth around him. But Protea is just Lily's invention. Here's the shape-changing woman. And that's quite lovely.
Sarah.
Yeah, just to answer one of Lois's questions, the way I interpreted it was that she didn't have her superpower until she prayed to Neptune. And, just from a dramaturgical perspective, I feel that's a more interesting, interpretation, because it raises the stakes. When she comes on, she's just an ordinary girl who's going to be sold the way thousands of ordinary girls were. And so I think, the fact that she prays to Neptune and then receives this power, so it's kind of not a done deal when we first meet her. I think I think that's probably what Lily's intention was. I don't know though. Part of me, from what Aliki was going on, from what Aliki was saying, part of me would love an extra scene in there, with father and daughter and the kind of the kind of the setup and that conversation that happens. But on the other hand, you've got to hand it to Lily, because he's so economical. We're suddenly launched into this new character. We don't really know anything about her, but really within seconds, we've worked out, what's going to happen. The fact that she's going to be sold to this merchant, it's all kind of filled in, because that's just how he writes his dialogue, and he's economical and straight to the point, and it's really well structured. So I don't know. It's just I loved Lily the first time we read him, and I'm just even more full of admiration now, because I just think he sets up all these brilliant ideas, and he makes his audience think and think in different ways to the kind of usual early modern comedy. And I really love that.
Yes, I mean, if we've got to be a bit careful about genre for this kind of thing, because I think Lily is not. It's called a witty and courtly pastoral in the printing that I'm looking here, and certainly it's got all the pastoral stuff in it, sex and violence. That's what pastorals do. Eric.
I was just going to say that I think it's interesting about Protea, because as you said, we're not introduced to her before that scene, but then Rissikhan is kind of set up as this villain who felled the tree that belonged to a goddess. He didn't care about the gods, so on and so forth, and that's why he's being punished. And therefore he has to sort of sell his daughter to pay for all the stuff that he's to buy food for money, to get food, money for food. My brain's not working. And then sort of it's resolved because he apologizes to Ceres, and that plot is kind of weirdly resolved, because basically Protea's boyfriend is going to help him with money anyway and food. So it's kind of it kind of doesn't really like it's like they kind of bypass Ceres at some point and her rage towards him, but then she seems the most forgiving of all of them, to be fair. Maybe the most human to a degree.
Because we haven't really talked about Erysichthon, probably because we don't want to have to keep saying his name. But I mean, he kicks off the action of the play, the darkness of the play with this violence at the beginning, and he's utterly unrepentant, and he's just storming around being a bit of an arse.
Yeah,
but then they starve. I mean, he can't eat. He is starving to death. I mean, and there's this. It's really quite grim. But the solution is apologize. I mean, that's not a bad lesson, actually. I should point out here, and it works, and that's sort of fine. I mean, he's been punished. He's done his time. Everything's sort of okay. Action shifts to dodgy things to do with his daughter. Lois.
Well, everything would be a lot more okay if Fidelia came back to life. I mean, with so many metamorphoses, I would have thought that could happen. I mean, she's killed at the beginning, and it's really quite horrible, and nothing is done about that.
And the play. I mean, there's interesting questions practically about set, because we need a temple of for Cupid to pop in and out of. But also, once the tree's down, does it ever get cleared? Is the entire play performed over the corpse of a nymph? I mean, I love that about this play, that it gives us this violent act at the beginning and doesn't just tidy it away and, everything's fine. No, there's damage caused, an ongoing sort of ripple through this play that never fully resolves itself. There's still little tendrils at the end, and it's all coming in part from that. Lindsay.
Yeah, am I remembering this correctly, that it's mentioned that her blood on the ground has been turned into poppies? Was it poppies or flowers? I just think there's maybe, in terms of staging, there's maybe something that could be done with that keeps that story alive as well. That sort of hangs over the action in a way. Might be interesting.
Yeah, this is not a sort of poor school theatre approach. This needs a beautiful set that is really well put together and some beautiful costumes. It's got to look good in a way that some plays you can just rattle on stage and go rah and it'll be fine. This, you've got to set the mood. You've got to play with the mood and the atmosphere and the music and the imagery, and it's just so intricate. Otherwise, you would lose something, I think. Lois.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, I hadn't thought of what Lindsay just said, but that would actually be a lovely effect if you not only had flowers on the stage, but if they kept growing and getting bigger and bigger until everybody is sort of standing, knee deep in these things. That would certainly remind you, and it would also be rather like standing in blood.
Yeah, but also weirdly beautiful at the same time. So you have again that dissonance going on.
Yeah.
Any other final things anyone wants to throw in before I close the session? Time marches on. It's been very productive. I think it's really nice to come back to this one. We have definitely in our recent returns to Lyly, we've had some really interesting times. There are more interesting times to come, and you'll find out later on whether that is a curse or a blessing. So unless I see anyone waving, I will close the session. All that remains to thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye. All fish and feathers and filth.